Up and down, walking on the beaches, looking at the beaches. On the beaches, looking at the beaches. Like out of Notre Dame, you got some sunset, don't you?
house here. Está caliente. 105. 105. 105.
Don Pucho. Don Pucho. Here, ropa vieja, very good. Fry, banana fry, mix salad, ropa vieja, muy buena. Paladar, Don Pucho, very good.
No.
Un agua, dame la galletita ahí que me... Oye, dime agua. La galletita de hora y la de ahorita que me diste. Una. Una. ¿Ahí? Muy digo, ¿no? ¿Qué tú dices?
Gracias. Salud.
Cuba, very problem. Cuba president is difficult food, difficult milk, difficult everything. One month salary in Cuba, $10 one month. Very bad, yes. One doctor in Cuba, no, $20 one month. Cuba communist. Very good security, no problem, no math, no crime, revolution, Cuba good, pero in the president, very bad, very problem. I'm sorry. Cuba good!
I hear medicine is
In Cuba, no possible medicine. You know, pharmaceutical, no good. In Cuba, no medicament, very problem. In the babies, no possible caramelo, chicle, no good. Cuba,
no hay leche.
no milk, no hay leche in Cuba.
Iniziano electricity in Cuba.
In Cuba, in the tourists in Cuba, for Cuban people, no money, only for government place, in the hotel, understand? Pero Cuban people only one more, salary $10, nazi, 3,000 Cuban pesos. One doctor in Cuba, 6,000 Cuban pesos. Very bad Cuba.
Some people go away abroad. Yes.
Cuba is difficult, very difficult.
Mucha dificultad. ¿No hablo inglés?
En Cuba mucho problema, hay mucha necesidad. Si no fuera por la necesidad que hubiera aquí, quizá la vida fuera otra, pero hay mucha necesidad de todo, de comida, de medicina, de todo aquí.
No milk. In Cuba, Nazi, no very problem Cuba. Nazi. My brother in Japan, pharmaceutical. Y en Cuba, no medicamento.
here it's for free to have a
School,
food.
school es free, medicine es free, house es free, pero en Cuba nothing, never. No medicine, no food, no salary, very bad.
O sea,
No picture. No picture, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. No picture, amigo.
Cuban people crazy. Yeah.
¿De dónde es el dron ese?
Lo están volando.
¿Aquí no vuela?
Mira. A tirar fotos,
¿Pero aquí no vuela, papi?
No sé. Yo pude comprar allá en...
No, estás mamando.
Yo pude comprar un dron.
Sí. A ver, Viñales. El nombre se debe a que los primeros habitantes de este lugar fueron productores de vinos que llegaron desde España en el siglo XVI. Hablo acerca de colonizadores. Al llegar acá y encontrarse con el microclima del valle y el tipo de suelo, pues intentaron plantar viñedos para la producción de viñas y uvas, y vino, por supuesto. Ahora, al principio fue posible, y por 40 años, en el siglo XVI, acá existieron viñedos, viñas y uva. Pero después, poco a poco, con el paso del tiempo, las temperaturas comenzaron a subir, los viñedos comenzaron a enfermar con muchísima facilidad y a desaparecer con el paso del tiempo. Hoy solamente nos queda el nombre del lugar, Viñales, pero sin la existencia de viñedos.
Gracias.
¿Ready? Entonces, las montañas de Viñales son conocidas específicamente como mogotes. Mogotes por tres razones: la composición de la montaña, roca caliza y calcárea, la forma curva de las cimas y la baja altitud. En este caso, las montañas de Viñales son las más antiguas del país. Datan de la era jurásica con más de 180 millones de años, y la evidencia es el hallazgo por locales, turistas y guías de muchos restos fósiles de dinosaurios en este lugar. El último fósil encontrado fue solamente 1 año y medio atrás. Fue un reptil marino fosilizado de 3 metros de diámetro, que hoy se encuentra bajo investigación científica.
Thank you, guys.
The Cuban painter took 4 years and 20 workers to complete it. And they do it hanging from the hills with strong ropes and parachutes harnesses. Was made with a paintbrush. Was made by hand. I will show you pictures. Was made by hand. Has 120 meters by 80, being today one of the biggest open air painting in the world. And right now they are working like the old school. Can you see the men there? They are cleaning the wall from the trees right now. Because first they remove the trees and later they're gonna refresh all again. Hard and dangerous work. He's famous here and out of Cuba already. Loco, Eri, eso no vamos mal, loco, chicos, no. Conmigo, eso hazlo tú con cualquiera que venga, con Adrián, conmigo normal.
No, Adrián no recoge.
No, si
A la
vienen,
muchachita sí se lo doy
si
porque
vienen,
está piece of pineapple. Two
2 cups,
cups of powdered milk.
powder milk.
Powdered milk. And one of sugar. One.
Sure.
sugar, azúcar.
And coconut milk. Just a moment.
That's the ingredients behind.
Here, coconut
He's
milk.
telling you the secret.
Natural coconut milk.
No, it's very important.
Some piece of coconut and water of coconut, blending and filter.
Now he's explain step by step how you can make piña colada at home. Eric,
Esa tiene que ser única, chicos.
Gracias.
yo estaba Eric ahí sin teléfono. Hey, try. Watch your head here. Cuidado con la cabeza acá, por favor. No. Tranquila. ¿Brasil?
Sí, pero soy chiquita, no tengo que pesar.
No, tranquila, no hay problema, no hay problema. Despacio.
¿Puedes pasar?
No, si quieres, no sé, como tú quieras, da igual. The walls are natural. They are made by the water erosion. Now, why water? In Cuba, we have a hurricane season. Hurricane season between June and November. Now, that's also our rainy season. Now, not every year we had hurricanes here, but with a hurricane through the area, we're gonna have more rains than common, and the level of the water inside the cave goes up. The cave will be underwater by 5 days. Now, formations are made by the water erosion inside the area. Okay. Don't run. No, I'm joking with you. No, I'm joking with you. Porque salir de aquí es como si. ¿Quién está allá? Hola, ¿quién está? Carlos. Carlos. Está ahí enfrente. Estaba sentado delante de Robert.
crocodile and a pig jump into the water. Next to the right side, the Christopher Columbus free ship, Niña Pinta Santa Maria.
Yes, it's small. Yeah, the river goes from here like 20 more minutes to the ocean. Those are two of them. He did that because he wants to give you something to eat. Now they love these leaves. Let me try to feed him. Come here. He's looking for
Very thirsty.
Come on. Do you want to give him? Okay. Come on. Slow, slow, slow.
We're in November, okay? So we pick the beans when they are red, and then we put them here. When it's all finished, it was red, it will turn in black. And like this, it won't have any taste, any smell. Then we have to separate the peel from the seeds. And we do that there in the pilon. Peel the inside with earth and there's saliva. They mix it and they make tiny bowls like this. And inside of the bowls, they leave the honey, so it works. Okay? So now, how do we find those nests and how do we get the honey? Have you seen anthills before? This one you need iron in your blood. So easy to close the scars, for cataracts in the eyes and ulcers in the stomach. You can eat it like this.
We plant it, we harvest the leaf,
Olive.
and we hang it here. Dice el bicho a José mío, José, tú estás muy chiquito, la Santa María dice, José, tú estás chiquito una paja con malusa. Tú te metes, dice los saquejeros, los míos tan chiquitos. Tú te metes ahí en el corte de abajo y toca la... Like this, 90% we sell to the government, and we keep 10%. The government come here, quantity, how many plant we planted, and after they know, we see you at 90%. Yeah, no, it's too close. Come here. No, you take, yeah. We put the honey.
Yes.
The honey helps to the good taste. With the men tie like this.
Ladies, cigarette.
cigarette.
Ladies, men. You put not to the lump, only the mouse. You understand?
Yeah.
Now I show you how roll. This is the center vein. We don't use 70% of the nicotine. We don't use cigarette inside. Cigar, no. Organic fertilizer. Don't use. This is inside, you see? And this is another leaf, tripa. Honey is like glue. In the factory, use maple syrup.
Maple syrup.
But here's honey. Health is better. Now you cut.
Happy holidays. Sayonara.
Sayonara, yeah.
Japón.
Yeah, Japón, soy de Japón.
Salud.
Salud.
Salud, amigos. Japón, Cuba, México.
Maybe some people souvenir Havana Club.
Souvenir.
Buy Havana Club and souvenir for your country.
It's good.
Dime, bella linda. What do you want?
Yeah.
Ah, inglés, qué lindo.
English.
Dime, lo chico.
Securing your bag, please indicate using more than one to assist. It is Mohammed Al Quality forward to the major on the Doris Road, or portable electronic. Inside items may shift during flight. As this is the first port of entry to the Bahamas, there will be customs and immigration clearance here. Please have all documents readily available for the officials inside.